As we embark on a new normal post-circuit breaker, a phased approach to reopening Singapore will help protect both lives and livelihoods, but Singaporeans must get used to this new normal of living with restrictions. In a phone interview today with Money FM 89.3, National Development Minister Lawrence Wong said the process of reopening is a very tricky one. He added that the government is prioritizing both lives and livelihoods while ensuring that it has the capabilities to test and contact trace on a large scale.
As cases emerge, we make sure we have the ability to control, to quickly detect, ring-fence, isolate these cases, and prevent large clusters from forming. So what we will be looking out for over the next 2 weeks are the community infection numbers, the daily community infection numbers. We want to keep them low and stable. It's not just about whether it's single digit. I think it may rise, but if we can continue to keep control over the situation, meaning to say each time a case comes up, we are able to quickly detect and then identify all the close contacts and isolate and ring-fence the cluster.
Minister Wong's full interview is on the Straits Times Facebook and YouTube platforms, as well as Money FM 89.3's website.
Although shops will have to stay closed during Phase 1, about 75% of the economy resume operations today. Let's find out about the immediate impact of this on SMEs with President of the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, Kurt Wee. Now, Kurt, it's good to have you back. Kurt, SMEs make up Singapore's largest employers. Many of your members would have been allowed to start operations today. How did they feel about it? Relief, perhaps?
I think a lot of members are sort of facing the reopening with a bit of apprehension. You know, we have been working with a lot of different industries and sectors to inform them of the need to really first primarily look at all the needs to implement the relevant safe distancing measures, health and safety measures, and how do you, if you have workforce, how do you do cohorting and how do you do some of these things, and really emphasize to businesses the primary focus on these practices over and above before other things, because it's so important that they get these basics in place, because COVID is not just here for a few months. We all have a part to play in terms of keeping the workplace safe, keeping interaction safe, so that we don't have another flare or another wave of infections. And so, you know, businesses have been really putting in effort towards this area. We see industries such as the optical industries, 60, 80 shops of them coming together to sort of develop SOP safety operating procedures. We saw spa and wellness industry, about 100 of them grouping together to develop some level of a uniform practice that, you know, they could put up for review. And also to basically drum it down amongst all their business owners, the necessary practice in preparation for the reopening.
What were some of the challenges that some of the SMEs faced, for example, Kurt, in order to be able to start work again in Phase 1?
So, you know, it's really got to do with really looking at my own operations and understanding what kind of implementations I need to do, right? Whether it's just internal operations within the company, I need to do team division, team A, team B, or if I have workforce, I need to do cohorting, or, you know, if I deal with customers, then what are my procedures and how I deal with my customers? So I think a lot of the businesses have been doing this level of preparation. And when the announcement came out, of course, everybody had hoped that they could open on 2nd of June, but not, you know, it's really going to take in phases. And we had to, you know, inform the businesses that, you know, we've only got one chance to do this right. And we want to do it right the first time. And so then, you know, we then convince businesses that the speed to opening and trying to rush for capacity should not be a priority. And I think businesses have been putting in a lot of effort towards that area and making sure that they have the correct procedures in place. Of course, they want to open fast. Of course, they want to open early. But I think they also understand the need for health and safety. And I think even they also understand that by implementing some of these practices, it actually would put a cap on their turnover capacity. In most cases, about 50-60% cap on their sales capacity. But it's better to have some level of activity than no level of activity. And in addition to that, I think businesses have also been pivoting towards online models or delivery models or telecommuting sort of a model to sort of looking at how they can do their work differently but achieve the same outcome. And I think with all these kind of efforts put in place and with a bit of pivoting, probably business can push their business turnover back to maybe about 50-60% level of what was before. It will mean that some may not be able to sustain the cash flow and the cost load. It may continue to mean some business that will be rationalized and there might be some retrenchment, but I think some of those negative impacts have already been substantially cushioned away by the government's assistance measures, namely the job support scheme that has been extending a wage support to businesses. I think it's great that it's been extended to June for those that, and it will be extended beyond June for those that can't open. I think that's clear recognition that the government sees the time that businesses need to sort of ramp up. And the other piece that I think it's been quite useful for businesses really is the rental rebate push.
Right, Kurt. Kurt, the Manpower Ministry said working from home for non-essential work should be the default for phases 1 and 2. How difficult or easy is it for SMEs to adhere to a predominantly work from home situation?
Okay, so I think there are two minds to this. There's some extent of desk-bound, office-bound work. Previously, you would travel for meetings, and now you do meetings by Zoom. So there's actually a quite large segment of the working population that's pretty now acclimatized to working from home. And I think for those particular group, for them to continue to work from home, I think might be okay. It's not so great a departure. But there are certain business segments that cannot work from home. They need to be in operations. They need to work with their teams, and they need to perform interdepartmental roles as well. So I think it will be a relief for those segments that they can get back into business operations. We've heard also from, for example, from the contractors, renovation, construction industry. That particular sector is a multi-player, multi-company activity most of the time, and it doesn't just extend into the construction company or the renovation or contractor company themselves, but it extends also into their suppliers, their professional consultants, even their clients. So June is really going to be a time whereby the whole ecosystem attempts to get its operative act in place, and we hope that by mid-July, things will be a lot more flowing and stable.
Right. Well, Kurt, SMEs have a lot of measures to put in place, telecommuting, safe distancing. So how does implementing all of these measures affect their ability to make money, especially for smaller businesses who may not have resources? What would phase 1 and even phase 2 mean for their recovery?
Well, in some ways, conducting meetings by Zoom means you save a lot of time traveling. It does raise your productivity, but you can't get to a level of conversation that you can get to when you're physically face-to-face with the person on the other side of the table. And I think for those SMEs that may are operative in a consumer nature and they serve customers, whether you're F&B or retail, I think safe distancing and some of these measures would mean limited appointments that they can see or limited customers that they can see. Typically, we estimate that they cap the capacity at about 50% level, which is why pivoting to some of the other digital models, in addition to their existing business operation, will be very key in supplementing that turnover. Now, bear in mind that total effort would still not equate to what it was before COVID. But as we said, now there is the JSS wage subsidy to sort of cushion your cost impact, as some rental measures to have helped you with your first half year of battle. So what we want to do is, focus on the second half year of battle, from July right through to December, and sufficiently transform, sufficiently pivot with all the necessary health safety measures in place, so that you can hit a level where you can be viable and sustainable. It will come with some cost cutting and even some manpower cost cutting. It may not need to come in a manpower headcount cut, may come in the form of wage cuts. But I think what we want to do is try and save as many businesses and get them operational as much as possible.
Wow. Great points there, Kurt. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. We've been speaking to Kurt Wee, President of the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises.